John, thank you for coming back. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the state of the court and the amount of backlog that's going on for cases that maybe people want to resolve. For UI cases, people want to do that, but also for cases that people want to take to trial. What are you seeing in terms of like a timeline, and what are the courts doing to line up the cases to deal with the backlog?
Well, it's kind of a multi-part answer to that question, right? So typically with OUI cases, we make the decision early on in our representation of the client, obviously with the client in terms of what they want to do. For licensing purposes, if a person is trying to get their license back as soon as possible, the quickest way to do that is to resolve the case with a plea agreement.
Right.
Now, doing that varies from court to court. We touched upon that in our last video a little bit. I still prefer to do those in person. Most courts are allowing me to do that still with my client. I just think it's a much easier process. However, they created a new plea form, a virtual plea form for us to use, which doesn't actually have a signature for our client. It's just us as the defense attorney signing both the front and the back, which bothers me a little bit just by, virtue of a defendant's rights. But the judges do a very good job over the Zoom of going through the colloquy with the client about the rights they're giving up and whether or not they've had enough time to speak to us and whether we've explained everything to them. But procedurally, it makes sense to try to do that quickly after arraignment, sometimes at arraignment, to allow a person to apply for a hardship license. The flip side of that coin is people who want to try their case.
Yep.
So we still have to go through the entire process. You have the arraignment, you have at least one pre-trial hearing. In some instances, I am trying to pick bench trial dates, which are trials just in front of a judge, not a jury, at the first pre-trial conference. That gives me the ability to at least try to get the case in front of a judge, and then it's up to my client on that day to determine whether or not they feel comfortable in that setting to have the judge, him or herself, hear the case and decide it.
Yep.
If they don't, then now we're in the realm of having to pick a jury trial date.
I mean, I think the difficulty is there's only 6 courthouses that was originally identified that could hold a jury trial. So,
Right.
We've heard Norfolk County rented Lombardo's for 3 months. And I would love to try a case at Lombardo's. But kidding aside, I mean, the Heinz Convention Center was supposed to be a second location, but obviously with the Red Sox going back, that has now become a vaccine site.
Right.
And Barnstable, what did they rent down in Barnstable? Was it a theater that they rented out down there?
Right.
To do trials? And then I just heard this morning that Springfield is doing something similar. But it's not a long-term solution. But the other issue is, like right now, for Boston, I don't think they really have another plan that's been rented. I know there's several options they're looking through. And the other issue is where the BMC Central is the only court that they can try a case and socially distance people with the new HVAC system. All the smaller Boston courts are sending their cases downtown.
Right.
And the last I think we heard, they're only trying to do one trial a week. So where you have a backlog of possibly a couple thousand cases for jury trials, I think that's going to be difficult. I also think the other thing that's going to be difficult is trying to convince people that it is safe to come do jury trial. And we're not going to know the amount of jurors you're going to get till that day. And where you're just maybe trying one case a week, and that might not even happen. I think it's going to be a long slog before we can clear the backlog.
Right. Nothing is going to really return to a normal state for quite some time. And so that, the difficulty for the criminal justice system is that the numbers haven't stopped. The people haven't stopped, being arrested and processed and put into the system. And so, we're dealing with backlog upon backlog. I was able to just do a jury waive trial this week. That date of arrest was 2017.
Oh, wow.
So that was an older case as it was, but it was coming up to trial just as COVID hit last year. And then, it was just in a state of limbo for almost 1 year before we could try the case. So it's difficult. I mean, people have been very patient and understanding because there's not much we can do. We can only control what we can control. As I tell most of my clients prior to COVID, a normal timeline for me from start to finish to try a case, especially a first offense OUI, was really anywhere between 4 and 9 months,
Right.
we could get from beginning to end. Now, I have no idea. I have no idea.
Yeah.
You could get lucky and get a case tried in a few, 6 months, maybe a little bit sooner, but it could take years. I have no idea.
Yeah, and then,
So
I mean,
we're
people
just
hear these
dealing with
things
what
and
we
like,
deal with.
well, it might just be a misdemeanor, it's an OUI, these things can wait. But the truth is, there's severe consequences to people's jobs, families,
Right.
economics, and it can really destroy a person's family. Where a person made a mistake, maybe drove, or maybe shouldn't have been arrested in the first place. You don't know until some of these cases get tried to see what the result's going to be. But there's no way for them to move on with their life, right?
No, and I think you're right. We have a pretty unique ability at our law firm to be able to treat each case as a very, very important one, regardless of the charges, right? So,
Right.
Whether we're dealing with someone who's facing a life felony in a superior court versus somebody who's facing a misdemeanor assault and battery or a first offense OUI, that case to that person is the most important thing in their life. And,
Right.
and we have to be aware of that as attorneys. I think you and I do a very good job of that, and that's why our clients keep coming back or referring us people, is because we do treat them with that respect. Because you have to be cognizant of the fact that this has completely disrupted their lives.
Yep.
Whether or not they got their license back, you're right. There's collateral consequences with family, with work, with a number of other things that we have to take into account when dealing with these situations.
No, we hear that all the time, right? I mean, you're talking about individuals that live in locations that aren't near public transit. They have children, they have families, they have people they take care of and rely on them, and it's so disruptive not only in their life and it's everyone's life around them. Now, obviously, people will say they shouldn't have been in that situation in the first place, and and honestly, our clients would agree with you. It's not, no one's perfect. Some people do make mistakes, but
Right.
where the effect of it, not having the result and the resolution of it for 3 years possibly, is something that the justice system really was not prepared to do, and it wasn't intentional, obviously, but it does have a deep impact on people. Closure is something that is very important. So hopefully this will all kind of be behind us soon. I think we probably want to do another state of the courts podcast soon, just to kind of keep people updated about like what's going on and when trials will start at Lombardo's.
Be something.
All right, John, it was good seeing you. Definitely talk again soon.
You too, bud. Take care.